Telegram here. Okay, we're just gonna post on our Telegram here.
Also Slack.
Yeah, give me one moment here. Find the Korean channel.
Oh.
All right, guys, we are live. So let's let the chat populate a little bit, and then we can probably start in about 2 to 3 minutes. So it takes a while. So how has everything been? So just what have you guys been up to like currently at the moment in Nashville? You're in Nashville now, right?
Hey, so yeah, we arrived in Nashville a couple days ago back. We were doing we're here for a hackathon with Bitcoin Media, and we're now here at the Distributed Health Conference. So, I mean, it's been very active. You may have seen from our community updates yesterday that we've been, you know, we had a code camp, we had a hackathon, we've got a trade show going on. Right now, we're in a dressing room to do this live conference. We've been doing interviews with the press. Patrick is in San Francisco right now. We're getting ready for this CESC conference in Berkeley. So I mean, it's a lot of traveling right now, a lot of meetings, but we wanted to make sure we took the time out to do this live stream. I know we've been putting it off. We were supposed to do this last week, so.
No problem, man. I guess because I understand that, I mean, based on the fact that you guys have been extremely busy after Ignition started, and then now, you know, you guys are probably doing the whole hackathon thing. And at the same time, I think this token swap is around the corner. Yeah, I can only imagine how busy you guys can be, man. Okay, so with 170 people on the stream, let's get started. Welcome everyone to Crypto Grinders meeting Qtum team. You know, I think it's a very exciting session, and you know, it's an honor to have the Qtum team on this live stream, because I think as far as I know, I've been searching for content from YouTubers YouTubers who probably would interview the Qtum team, and I have not seen any, because I would actually love to have that kind of engagement, or at least listen to you guys talk about the UTXO, talk about your EVM, your Qtum blockchain, but I found none, and I'm just very, very privileged and honored that you guys agreed to do this. And you know what, without further ado, let's get started. So so you guys, Brad, Jordan, John, could you all please introduce yourself? Probably we could start with Brett first, and then you know, we'll take turns. Yep.
Right. Okay. So my name is Brett Fincaryk. I'm from Western Canada, on Vancouver Island, and I've been working in the open source space for some time. Originally, starting with systems administration. I've done sales and marketing in the past, and I got interested in cryptocurrencies in early 2013, and basically I was very interested in the mining side of things. You know, started mining Litecoin and so on, and I found that it was really fun. It was a lot more fun than a day job. And over the years, I had worked with some of the larger farms and whatnot in China, and I had met Patrick along the way a few years ago back. So I mean, that's a bit of my background in crypto is doing mining and whatnot. But joined the team, the Qtum team, mid 2016, when we were just getting funded with the angel backers and so on. And so I've been working. I do some of the behind the scenes stuff here. I do some of the writing, but for the most part, it's community. You'll see me doing a lot of the talking in the Slack, in the Telegram, and so on. So that's my role here. I'll pass it off to Jordan.
I'm Jordon Earls. I'm the co-founder and lead developer of Qtum. So basically, I am a self-taught programmer. I began programming as a hobby when I was like 13. And from there, I basically graduated high school, turned it into a career. And before this, I was working on some like obfuscation, IP protection type stuff, working with some low level bytecode technical stuff. And I first discovered, like entered the Bitcoin space in like 2013, late 2013, whenever Dogecoin was like making the news. And I was like, if a meme can like be worth money, like I should at least look into it. And so I really became active in the space in 2014, whenever I started like mining and, you know, the way people usually get into it. And at 2014, there was a big altcoin bubble basically, and there were a lot of scammers during that time. So basically what I started doing was reviewing these coins and like checking their code and basically making sure they didn't have like hidden pre-mines and viruses and that kind of thing. And reviewed over 100 coins to date. And
but you caught a couple, didn't you?
Yeah, I caught a few, like about 3 that were like extremely major.
So
one of the ones was a Pharmacoin, which had a exploit, which basically allowed for people that knew how to exploit it to mine the coin quicker than people that didn't know about this exploit. And so it created like an inflated amount of hash and difficulty on the network that looked like it was like really backed by these super huge miners, but actually it was just small miners using this exploit. And I of course reported that to exchanges, and the coin and of course got delisted and everything. And then there's a few others that I've spotted. So yeah, I kind of built my reputation up in the community through that. And I entered Qtum back in June of 2016. Basically, Patrick approached me through Mike, one of our mutual friends, who I knew at the time, and basically came to me with this idea. And I was like, you know, cryptocurrency from China, that sounds like a scam or something. But, you know, we talked very extensively before I really realized, yeah, this is like a real, like this can be something. And so we basically started working on it from there. And Patrick had all these ideas and was basically came to me trying to figure out how to make it technically possible. And so we basically built the team up from there, and also had it with Neil as a co-founder as well. And yeah, so we worked on it from there and everything. And
all right,
John?
Yeah, I'm John Shauna, the marketing director for Qtum. I got involved in blockchain in late 2013. Also started out mining Litecoin over Thanksgiving break because my brother was into gaming and he had a really nice graphics card just collecting dust under his bed. And I was like, hey man, you could use this to make money. And we downloaded some mining software, and then he got a virus and he's like, I'm never touching this shit again. I just kept through it, and I got like all my Christmas money to build my own GPU rig, and yeah, got involved in writing and working with some of the companies in the space like CoinPip, which does B2B payments using Bitcoin and blockchain, and also the Chamber of Digital Commerce, which is a trade association for all the blockchain companies based in DC. And then I eventually joined Qtum over a year ago now, August 2016, and yeah, flew to Shanghai and been there for a year now, and now we're traveling to Nashville and San Francisco these weeks to spread the message of Qtum and get everything really revved up now that we have Ignition.
Yeah. And that was John and I. January, February, March, you take a look back at, the crowd sale that we were leading up to on the 16th of March. That was what you saw was me and John and, a few of the other guys from the team that did a lot of the work in the early days. And I realized that a lot of the people that are looking at Qtum now are, they may not have been involved back then, and they're just seeing it now as we're starting to release, software updates and starting to release like the main net and so on. But I mean, you can look back into January, February, March, April, and whatnot, and there's a bit of a history. It even goes back into 2016. Like we started the project in 2016, but we didn't really like announce it publicly until about December 2016, and that was, I mean, at the time, there was, I mean, Bitcoin was $700-800 or something like that, and it was just starting to gain a lot of traction, and so we've seen a crazy explosion in growth. We never anticipated that there were going to be just thousands of people coming on board in blockchain. So it's quite nice to be involved in this, like just this explosive kind of ecosystem. So we got caught up a bit in that, where we didn't anticipate there to be hundreds and hundreds of projects launching every month. So it's nice that we get to compete with them. We're competing for attention. We're competing for all sorts of things, especially technology. So that's what we're here to discuss. So those are our introductions. We'll let's move into this here.
All right. So guys, I think as a team, you guys have been solid. I mean, just so you know, although I'm not a programmer by any sorts, but I am someone who will dive deep into the individual profiles of the team, and Qtum has a really solid team. I mean, I think one of the best out there, not putting out there just because I'm having this interview, but because I'm someone who loves to invest in solid companies. I've always done that. And I think when I look at the team, the dynamics is really very good, and it has a lot of potential to build a lot of things. And I think the skill sets in this team alone rivals a lot of other teams. So what I want to do is, so I want to ask, what is Qtum, and help us define it. And at the same time, you guys have this very large motto on your website, which is the blockchain made ready for business. So could you explain a little bit more about what is Qtum and what do you mean by made ready for business? Because when I read this sentence, I was like, okay, but aren't most blockchain or at least blockchain companies planning to be made ready for business? I mean, it just depends on which sector that they want to appeal to. So please, let me know what this means.
So I mean, you can break that down into a lot of smaller kind of conversations, but I mean, really what you're dealing with is a decentralized blockchain here. Qtum is like fully decentralized. It's not it's not in any way like an enterprise solution, the public blockchain that we have launched. So we'll jump into that later and why that's important. But what Qtum is it's a combination. It takes the best parts of Bitcoin Core, and so we're based on Bitcoin, and we have an interpretation layer in the middle that allows for the Ethereum Virtual Machine to operate on top of Bitcoin Core. And a lot of people might see that like this UTXO, this unspent transaction outputs terminology keeps being thrown around, this acronym, but that gets really important as we start to discuss it further. So basically Bitcoin Core with the Ethereum Virtual Machine on top of it, and a proof of stake consensus model that makes it so that we don't have like a proof of work like mining and so on. So we'll break all these down by part, but why this is important is because Bitcoin Core is very stable. It hasn't been forked since 2010. It's got a lot of eyes on the code. A lot of the Bitcoin improvement proposals are already activated in Qtum Core, or could be activated. The Ethereum Virtual Machine is the most widely used crypto blockchain virtual machine right now. So what that means is some of these like decentralized applications and whatnot that are on the Ethereum blockchain will have practically no problem just porting over to Qtum, and you could have like an iPhone app, Android store kind of scenario where projects are not just picking one platform, they'll pick 2 or 3 that they're compatible with to try and get the maximum exposure. So we have some strengths that other platforms do not have. For example, one of our first decentralized applications, I would have to say they're our first, was Vivu. Chose us as the platform to build on, because they had a project that is all about mobile. And what that means is they wanted the people to use their phones to interact with smart contracts. And so in order to operate and execute and manage smart contracts on a mobile device, you would have to have like a full blockchain downloaded onto your mobile device with another platform. And that's really hard to do when your blockchain is 50, 60, 80, 100 gigabytes. But because Bitcoin has the SPV protocol activated already, you can do this with our blockchain. You can actually have mobile smart contracts. So that's that's just one example of why a decentralized application would build on Qtum. And so the proof of stake smart platform or smart contract platform, this is something that's been discussed quite a while in the block.
Before we go into the proof of stake, because there's a few things within the quantum features, like for example, the account abstraction layer and the decentralized governance protocol. I think I'd like to hear a little bit about these two features and also its significance that probably makes it different from other platforms. And this is, I'm quite interested in that. We can talk about the proof of stake later, but I think the main features would be the decentralized governance protocol and the account abstraction layer. Personally, I've been trying to crack my head, trying to understand the account abstraction layer part. And I kind of understand from the conversation that I've had with Brad that the decentralized governance protocol actually kind of minimizes the forking, right? Every damn thing, whenever there's a fork, there's price uncertainty, and we investors are like getting the main brunt of it, because I understand that when there's a major update to the code, the fork kind of fucks us up, man. I mean, just saying. And then, I understand from a programming perspective, it's more of improving, of course, for sure. And it's just a matter of whether or not there's enough people agreeing, because it's a consensus mechanism to it, right? So please help us define these two features before we step into the POS. So maybe Jordan or John can highlight a little bit. Whoever is fine. Yep.
Yeah, so the decentralized governance protocol, to fully understand it, I'll explain exactly how it came about. So
yes, please.
And Neil, the other co-founder, who's the architect and such, and one of the main programmers on the project, basically we were trying to figure out some way, because we're launching this new blockchain and everything. And I mean, you saw it with Ethereum. They launched it and then they got attacked, and they had to adjust some parameters and correct that. And basically what the decentralized governance protocol does is it allows us to change certain parameters on the blockchain without a fork. And so it doesn't completely replace forks. I'll be clear about that. Like, if we're adding like some radical new feature, that will still require a fork. But like, if say there's some operation in the EVM that is too cheap and it ends up being attacked, or maybe the block size is too small, like how it is in Bitcoin right now, basically what we can do is we have these governance parties, which can be the community, even AI smart contracts that basically monitor the blockchain condition for like, okay, the past 200 blocks have been full or nearly full. It's time for this contract to vote that the blockchain needs to be, or the block size needs to be bigger. So it's that, and community minor votes. There can also be like, a board of business people or investors or something like that have some kind of say in that. And basically they vote on a proposal, and the proposal is also just brought forward from these community people. And so basically they vote on these proposals, and if the proposal passes, then the network parameters change, and basically it just magically works. There's no fork, there's no new software to download, there's no disruption of the ecosystem. The network parameter just silently changes and things start working better. And it also allows us to very quickly respond to attacks. And so in Ethereum, there is one fork for basically, I can't remember which opcode it was, but there's one opcode that had some condition you could do that basically made it to where it would be like an exponential complexity. So it took a long time to execute, but it was very cheap to execute. And so basically we made it to where we can very quickly respond to an attack like that and increase the price of that opcode or that operation, and also just the minimum gas price required of contracts. And so basically it's a big thing to help with scalability, respond to attacks and security issues. And yeah, I think it's a very, very revolutionary concept.
And is this unique to you guys at the moment based on, because you guys have been obviously covering the space quite a bit, especially John and of course, Jordan yourself as well, who has been covering the space. Is this decentralized governance protocol unique to Qtum?
So there's only one, after we published it, it seems like there's a few people that have been kind of hinting around the same kind of concept. But at the time we made it, I think the only actual project with like direct plans to do this is Tezos. And Tezos is basically, they want to make it to where you can rewrite the fundamental rules of the blockchain through their own governance model. And basically, Qtum's implementation of it is a much more conservative approach. So we designed it so that even if like the decentralized governance protocol is completely compromised and like, you know, some attacker gets complete control over it, he still can't do anything with it. Basically, he can make it to where the blockchain gets slow, or maybe even like makes a block every like 20 minutes or something due to various conditions. But the main thing is they can't create new coins out of thin air. They can't steal coins from other people. They can't rewrite transactions. It doesn't affect the core rules of the blockchain that keep it secure. It only affects basically how the network moderates itself to basically continue working at optimal conditions.
So the immutability is always there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. So in terms of with regards to that, right? How about the account abstraction layer? Because this account abstraction layer looks very interesting because there's this smart contract lifecycle management, Oracle, Go Mobile, and it integrates everything together. So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So basically, the account abstraction layer is really what allows us to integrate the EVM, which, just to give a quick overview, the blockchain model we use is called UTXO. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard it a million times. But what that actually means is basically we're very Bitcoin-like. So we're actually compatible with Bitcoin transactions. Like we use the exact same transaction format as Bitcoin. So, you know, exchanges, market services that use the Bitcoin blockchain, it's very trivial for them to basically port their service over to Qtum because of that compatibility. But the problem with it is basically Ethereum and the Ethereum Virtual Machine uses what's called the account model. So the core difference there is, you know, you send a transaction, I send a transaction to Brett. That's one output. And that output can be either spent or unspent. Like if I send you 10 coins, you can't just only spend 5. You have to spend all 10 coins and send 5 back to yourself, basically, is how it ends up working on the actual blockchain. And the Ethereum Virtual Machine and Ethereum basically work, I send you 10 coins, you can spend only 5, you can spend only 1, whatever. And it has a completely different transaction format, transaction model from Bitcoin and thus Qtum. And so basically what the account abstraction layer does is it brings a bridge between these two very disparate models. So basically you get, because UTXOs are very simple to deal with at the blockchain level, because there are no, there's not like the nonce and parallelization concerns that Ethereum has. And so they're very easy to technically reason about, basically, and that's what allows us to basically work on the previous work that's been done with proof of stake models. So a lot of people just coming to the space see Casper and think, okay, this is the first proof of stake design that's ever came out of the blockchain space. But that's actually been around since I think like 2013 with Peercoin. And basically the model we used is called proof of stake version 3, and it's from Blackcoin. And so basically we were able to build from that work and use that simplistic model. But then the smart contracts themselves, you know, having smart contracts have to worry about, okay, I need to send coins and then send the coins back to myself. I have to pick only the most efficient outputs. What the account abstraction layer does is basically allows these contracts to behave as if they're on an account model. So all they care about is the contract has a balance, I can send coins places, and I can receive coins. I don't need to deal anything with the technical details of the blockchain. I just have this very simple thing to program against. And so basically that brings together these two models to where we have the technical simplicity of this whole UTXO model while having the programmatic, basically being able to write very simple smart contracts, on this account model. And also that allows us to use the SPV protocol, the simplified payment verification protocol that's used by every Bitcoin lat wallet in existence that I know of. And basically allows us to basically piggyback on that as well, to where we can bring the smart contracts and let you not just like, you know, you have a phone or whatever, you not just send coins to whoever, but also interact with these smart contracts. And I personally envision a future where, you know, you download Uber or whatever, and you request a ride and pay or do whatever. And the backend uses Qtum or the blockchain, but you never even know about it. That's basically how the internet is now. I think that right now, blockchain is really like where the internet was in the 90s. In the 90s, you had to know, you know, TCP/IP stack and dial-up modems and like all these technical MTU values and all this kind of detail. But now all you do is push Wi-Fi, connect to this access point, maybe internet password, and it just works. I envision blockchain basically being like that in a few years.
Okay, so I guess in terms of how Qtum is functioning at the moment, it has formed like a bridge between. This is how I understand it. It has formed the bridge between the Bitcoin blockchain and the Ethereum Virtual Machine. So is this what do you call it? This bridge or this piece of code interchangeable, meaning that I understand that there's an Ethereum Virtual Machine, but you guys mentioned that also, if you have more virtual machines, it also can work as well with Qtum. That means if other people created more virtual machines going forward, it is going to work as well. So this is it already functioning? It's already functioning and it's live and it works and is that the one of the main reasons why? Okay, so before I go into this question, because of all these features, does that encourage basically companies or projects to come on board, come on board with Qtum rather than any other smart contract platform? I'm just trying to understand this also. Does it because it's making it more secure? Is that because there's some kind of backward compatibility, cross platforms and all that? Is it because of that attracts projects to want to work with you instead of, say, Ethereum or say Neo or whatever? I mean, I'm just trying to piece everything together. So what makes your smart contract platform that user friendly or that secure? And is it because of all these features that you just highlighted?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we built Qtum's blockchain, not focusing really on the EVM, but also focusing on these better virtual machines and different virtual machines that are, you know, better suited for different use cases. And we designed it from the very start to support multiple virtual machines, and we designed it this way. And yeah, I mean, like, I think the big thing that Qtum has going is it's built not just for today, but also for the future to be easily extended and for And in the future, you know, enterprise blockchains and all that kind of stuff, it'll be easier for companies to build their own virtual machine that, you know, is specialized for their own use cases and integrate it into this quantum blockchain using the simplicity of the account abstraction layer. The account abstraction layer is a very, if you look at the design on paper, it's a little bit complicated to explain, but really it's very simple, the operations and rules it does. And I think that the backwards compatibility with the Bitcoin ecosystem and being able to use Solidity-based smart contracts are really like bringing together these two very disparate ecosystems where they can both agree on one thing and basically bring their knowledge over from these other projects and come to quantum and already know a little bit about how things work, what they can do. And I think that that's probably one of the big reasons for companies to build on quantum. And of course, quantum is still very young. So we still have a lot to go for as far as like documentation, development tools to make, you know, making apps and decentralized applications as easy as possible. We still have a long way to go there. But
are your tools already ready for the developers to work on? As in, the tools are already more or less there, or it's still in development as we speak?
There's definitely still some in development, but it's usable today. It's just not as easy as we can foresee it being. I foresee it being like a lot easier than it is today. But I mean, we had a hackathon here and 5 different projects out of, I think, 11 built on quantum, and, you know, basically came into the room with no experience with quantum. And I gave a short little, like, I think it was like 45 or 30-minute workshop basically about, you know, how to get started. And in 24 hours, there are some people that had basically like a working, like not really working product, but like a working prototype that they built from no knowledge in 24 hours. And I think that speaks for itself, really.
Yeah. So you're saying that people who have never used, programmers obviously, who have never used quantum before, and the moment you gave a workshop, people already understood. Or at least the programmers understood how it functions, and it was easy to work with from the very get-go.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it definitely still has rough edges, and, you know, I got a lot of questions. How do I do this thing that I can do in Ethereum with this tool? How do I do it in quantum? And, you know,
what programming language are you all using? Sorry to cut you in, but what programming language are you all using?
So the actual quantum core, like our main wallet and node, is written in C++. But we have some tooling already for JavaScript. There's someone working on like some Go API stuff, and we're working to basically bring something like kind of like MetaMask to bring quantum to the browser, to where you can, you know, use all these web tools that interact with the blockchain.
Easy for people like me, right, to use, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Okay. So all right. So I think people in the chat have been asking, how do we even stake quantum? I mean, and also I think maybe we want to understand, how does the staking mechanism help the ecosystem? I think that is something very, very important, because apart from whatever reward that comes, or the incentivization that comes from the consensus mechanism, I think we want to know, in terms of when we stake, how are we helping the quantum blockchain to grow? And I mean, how are we contributing? I think this is something that has to be addressed.
Yeah. So basically for staking, it's so simple that a lot of people don't really understand that that's all you do. Basically, you have coins in your wallet and you leave your wallet running and connected to the network. It automatically will scan through your set of coins and such and try and stake them. And the very basic overview of how that works is basically called a self-selecting lottery. And so basically, you know, every set of coins on the blockchain, like every UTXO, so like, you know, whenever you receive a transaction, and that's like one UTXO. And so basically every UTXO on the blockchain have a random probability of being able to create coins and create a proof of stake block. And So there is no minimum. You can, in theory, stake with like 1 Satoshi of quantum, but it's very unlikely. Basically, so whenever you find that one of the UTXOs in your wallet is valid to make a proof of stake block, the wallet internally just creates a block, validates all the transactions, and signs it with that UTXO and spins it and everything to prove that, you know, it's not just some person using your wallet without your private keys. And so basically it does that, makes the block, and then publishes it to the blockchain. And I think that this is really decentralization in its true sense. So Satoshi Nakamoto, I can't remember where I saw it, but he predicted that proof of work would become how it is today. Basically, you know, these big centralized mining farms where there's like, what, 10 or less in the world or something, controlling most of the Bitcoin network because of proof of work benefits from basically economies of scale. So the more work you can put into making these specialized ASIC chips and everything, and the more you can get in one space, you become more efficient as a proof of work miner. And so basically what proof of stake does is it completely destroys that whole notion of that you need to basically have this big economy of scale and like invest all you can. Someone with 1 quantum helps secure the blockchain. Someone with 1 million quantum helps secure the blockchain. And there is no lower limit, and there is no benefit by pulling funds together to where, like, you know, one person has like 20 million coins that they're holding for everyone staking. There's no benefit to that. You won't receive more coins. You won't, or anything like that. There is some, you know, benefit by, you know, not having to run a wallet and stuff, but also we're supported on the Raspberry Pi. You can actually stake on a Raspberry Pi. And that works today. I mean, I used to have a node at my house set up that was staking on the Skynet blockchain.
So basically, you see, I have a Raspberry Pi. Okay, I just bought this. Okay, and I am actually trying to learn. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward, but because I'm not familiar with Linux, and because I understand as a node, right? Do I have to download the whole node in order to? I mean, do I have to download the whole node? Because this seems like a very small, it doesn't have much memory. I think there's only 2 gigabytes on this. And as the network grows, will that fill up my little 32 gigabyte memory card? And what happens? Yeah, I mean, just from a staking perspective.
Yeah, so the blockchain does like constantly grow, of course, but we actually have a mode in Quantum called pruning, and it's carried over from Bitcoin Core. And basically what it does is you can set a certain threshold, like say you only want like to store 1 gigabyte worth of blocks or something like that. Basically it does have to download the entire blockchain, but then after it downloads it, it can throw away the data that's no longer needed for validation of the blockchain and needed for consensus. And so that goes all the way down to like 500 megabytes. And I don't know if that's like a hard guarantee that it will never consume 500 megabytes. But really all you need for validating this proof of stake blockchain is you need the block headers, which is basically what SPV wallets use. So they're very small, you know, you can use them on your mobile phone. And then you need the UTXO set. So basically keeping track of what transactions are spent and unspent. You don't need to care about the spent transactions, only the unspent ones. And so that, of course, is a variable data set and variable size, but in general, it's very small and like, you know, a couple hundred megabytes.
Right. Okay, so I would say it's not that because based on how I'm understanding this, it's not that it will not take up that much space because there's this pruning process, right? But I guess eventually it will still fill up as fast. Will I have any problems? Let's say when I download my wallet, is it going to be is it going to be fast, or is it going to be relatively slow? Because, I mean, after all, there's still going to be the network. I mean, the node is still going to be downloaded into my my platform, right? That's the thing, the OS. So will it be slow, or it's going to be relatively fast, like a light client or something like that?
So right now we don't have support for a light client. We're actually working on a Electrum port, which like really cool, allows like ledger support and that kind of thing. And you don't have to download the entire blockchain with Electrum. And so that's going to be the eventual answer for these light wallets where you don't care about staking, you just want to keep track of your coins or whatever. And in the future, there could be a way to basically only download the UTXO set data and the block headers and validate all of that from that. But that's still, a work in progress. We're not working on it yet, but we know it's technically possible. And yeah.
But for running on a Pi, especially since we just launched, the UTXO set is pretty low. There's not many blocks that you have to download. So I think for the first year or so, running on a Pi, a full node, it shouldn't be a problem with 32 gigs. I mean, the Bitcoin blockchain is 8 years, and maybe it's like about 100 gigs. So yeah, 32 gigs should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess you guys have made it relatively friendly for people who want to stake. So just for the chat, people who do not know how the staking mechanism works, do I have to leave it on 24/7? And so I do have to leave it on 24/7. Yeah, so what if my connection drops? Help me out here. So what if my connection drops? What happens? Do I have to restart the whole damn wallet, or what? What do I do?
So basically, if you
wait, sorry. There's a 500 confirmations, right? Because I have to wait 500 block confirmations. That's like roughly based on the tutorial I read from a Qtum fan, where he actually was doing extensive, quite a bit of extensive research on the testnet, right? So basically, let's just see how I understand this. So I would like to stake my coins, but before my coins are stakeable or mature, it has to be 500 confirmations later. Yes. So 500 confirmations later, that's roughly based on his calculations was 20.8 hours, right? So after those 20.8 hours, so halfway through while I'm confirming, let's say I'm at 250 and my connection drops. What happens?
So basically the confirmations is basically your transaction. I mean, you know about like confirmations in Bitcoin, like, you have to have like 6 confirmations for a lot of merchants and stuff for to confirm that your transaction won't get
is valid. It's valid, yeah.
So basically in Qtum, if you disconnect at like confirmation 250 or whatever, nothing happens. Your transaction is still being like confirmed by the blockchain even with your node offline. And for staking, if you're staking, like your coins are mature and everything, and you're staking and you lose power for an hour, 2 hours, all that happened was basically if you could have staked a block during those 2 hours, which all up to probability and luck, if you could have staked a block during those 2 hours, you missed it. There's no other repercussions. When you bring it back online, it'll download all the blocks you missed, and then it'll keep on staking and trying to stake those coins and mint a new block for the network.
Okay. So is it relatively easy? As in, is your GUI wallet like easy for me to use? Like, I'm an idiot. I just have this Pi and I just want to download the GUI software. I mean, your software, your wallet software. And it's like, the moment I run, I do the back. Okay, so am I able to back up my private keys or my passphrases? Okay, so that's that. So once that's done, I just deposit my ignition tokens, my Qtum ignition tokens onto the wallet, and that's it.
Pretty much. So there's actually the GUI wallet for the Raspberry Pi is currently not being compiled because I think it's like too resource intensive for the Raspberry Pi to really be functional. But the actual command line, like Qtum D program, basically all you have to do is park your wallet, like your wallet.dat is what stores your private keys, and it's potentially encrypted and everything else. And so basically all you have to do is go to your Raspberry Pi, dump your wallet.d in the data directory for Qtum, start up Qtum D, and potentially decrypt the wallet to where it can stake. And there's a special mode called decrypt only for staking, basically making it to where it decrypts it, but you can't do anything with the wallet unless it's for staking purposes. And basically it'll download the blockchain, and if you select pruning mode or something like that, then it deletes some of the old blocks from the blockchain that it no longer needs, and then it's staking and it's working, and you can just leave it alone.
Okay. So I would say that it's relatively kind of there has to be a little bit of configurations that have to go into it first.
Yeah,
okay, because to be honest, I was looking through the GitHub, the Ignition guide. It doesn't state it doesn't give me any steps. If I downloaded this the Raspberry Pi version, it doesn't tell me what to do. It's just downloading, and then I don't see any like steps or command prompts that I need to key in, or what should I key in. So I think maybe just a little bit of a feedback for the team to maybe put out like a guide or something from the team, so that we know, because I understand that I think this is based on the Skynet, which is kind of similar to the Ignition, so it should run the same. But I think it would be nice to have a few lines of code to help us understand how do we get this up and running properly. So now,
sure.
Just I think I think the chat has been asking about the staking mechanism, or at least how does the reward come into play. So if I was to say, what's the formula like? Because let's say if I had 1,000 Qtum tokens, right? And then how does it work? I understand it's a probability. It's based on a probability, but what is that? What's the calculation like? So maybe you could please let us know.
Yeah, so really it highly depends on how many other people are staking and with how many coins. So
sure.
If globally on the network there's 1 million coins, you have a certain probability for, one Qtum getting this amount of coins per year or something like that. And if there's 10 million, then you're 10 times less likely, or 10 times less, I guess.
So it's your coins divided by the number of the whole network. Your coins, my stake, divided by the whole network. So that's one variable, and then after that, what's the multiplication factor if that's the case?
And then it's like two blocks per minute. So basically, to put it in more simple terms, if there are 100 coins being staked and you had one Qtum, you would have a 1 in 100 chance of making a block every 2 minutes.
Right.
And block is 4 coins for the reward.
Okay. Right. So basically, I get the full. If say my 1 out of 100 chance, I actually did manage to create a block or solve a block, right? I will get the 4 Qtums.
Yes.
Okay.
And then your coins that were used for staking then have to go through another maturity process, because basically if someone had 1 million coins, we wouldn't want for them to be able to just stake block after block after block.
Right. So it's a repeat. It's a repeat.
They would stake it, then have to wait 500 blocks, and then their coins are eligible for staking again.
So that's a very nice feature, a very fair feature, right? Don't you think? Okay. I didn't know it works like that. So okay. All right. Okay. So if that's the case, right? I think based on how I understand it, am I right to assume that if it's a very young network, okay, say on the 4th of October, and not many people want to stake, am I right to say that my chances of actually creating a block tend to be higher because there are potentially not many people are willing to stake on Qtum, right? So it's like you're rewarding the early stakers. Fair enough. It's just the same like the early miners of Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever, right? Because the network's so young, the difficulty isn't there, and the code kind of compensates for the lack of hashing power. Yeah. So am I getting this right? Okay. So
it's similar, but that I don't think that kind of condition would last more than a day or two.
Oh shit! Is it? Okay. Oh damn, man. Okay. Sure. Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it depends on how many people want to stake.
Sure. Of course.
And sure. I mean, for the folks that keep their tokens on exchanges, they're obviously not going to be participating in the staking. You have to have it in the Qtum Qt wallet. You have to have it, encrypted with staking enabled, and otherwise you're just not helping secure the network, and you don't get paid like a dividend for just having your Qtum tokens just sit there. You have to lend your computational resources to the network in order to earn your reward. Yeah. So it's not like it's not like an interest model. It's you're using your CPU and your resources and your electricity to make sure that no one is double spending on the network, no one is forking the network, and so forth. So I find that there's always going to be people that just leave it on the exchanges. And so, I mean, there's 51 million tokens that are out in the wild in the community. So you basically have a chance to compete for one of about 720 blocks per day. So, I mean, you can very easily do the calculation of what your average time to stake a block would be if there's 720 and you had 1,000 or 10,000 or 15,000 tokens. Basically, if you wanted to stake a block a day and there were 10 million tokens, you'd need about, I think it's like 14,000 or something like that. Someone can double check my math, but you would need to be able to get it into that type of scenario if you want to have average return, like ROI on the time that you spend. But keep in mind that your computer has to be left on. There's other variables at play too, and that means you can't have like your computer go to sleep. You can't have your power go out. You can't have.
That's why I recommend the Raspberry Pi, because it's so low power.
And that's right.
There's other things at play too. Like what we would not like to see is we'd not like to see people leave their Qtum tokens on an unencrypted wallet on their main computer that they use for who knows what. I mean, if you're going to leave it open, we would recommend like a virtual machine on your computer, or at least have, as soon as the tokens hit your Qtum wallet, to back it up, to do encryption, strong password, back up the wallet file and whatnot. Then you're okay to stake on your computer. But Raspberry Pi is so cheap and so easy, and it helps the network too, because the more nodes that are out there, if you run it in server mode, it really helps the security of the network. So that's another reason.
And the speed.
And the speed. So that's
downloading blocks and all that.
So we hope to see thousands of these Raspberry Pis out there. That would be best case scenario.
Okay. So another question, because we are going. Okay. So now this is a security question, right? Because as much as people want the I mean, you can see the chat, whatever they wanting to ask for, but I want to talk about the security first, because if we are going to be staking, I think I want to know whether my coins are going to be secure on this network. So please share a little bit about how secure is the Qtum blockchain. And if let's say, for example, I was to put my coins on there, I mean, let's say I am having, on my part, I'm having everything remotely secure. I'm on my Pi. I don't have any other stuff other than the internet connection. I'm going to encrypt the wallet, as you all say. I'm following all the instructions. But on your end, what is the likelihood that my tokens are going to be secure on the network?
Well, overall, I would say the security model of the actual blockchain is very on par with Bitcoin. And
this is from the very get-go.
Yeah, I mean, there's
does it need to have, I mean, I thought, okay, so from what I understand is that as long as because I understand that the more robust, I mean, for a blockchain to be more robust, it has to be having the test of time, there has to be more blocks and more nodes, does that apply to Qtum yet? Or
some. So there can still be like, double spend attacks possible if the network difficulty drops to like really, really low levels or something.
That's true.
But to basically keep the network moving right now, the foundation is staking some of their coins. And basically, we are staking some amount, but we expect to pull out most of that later, basically so that, the network takes over rather than us. And as for like the security of the blockchain itself, I mean, for the staking and everything else, it's using a transaction model very close to Bitcoin. And so we're using like the Bitcoin script opcodes. If you never touch a smart contract, then you basically don't even have to like worry about if the smart contract system is secure because of just the way it's segregated from the UTXO portion of the blockchain. And so like, even if there's like a critical bug or something in the smart contract implementation, it would not affect your coins that are just in a like a regular pub key hash transaction, basically like what Bitcoin uses.
Okay. So okay.
There's the Bitcoin, like the pay to script hash multi-sig. So there's no need to use like a smart contract or multi-sig. You can use it basically like Bitcoin does, where you have like the address starting with 3 that is a script hash internally, and I think on ours it starts with M, but it works the same way.
Okay, so since we're on security, right? So I have a question from one of my cybersecurity professionals. He asked, what security measures has the Qtum team taken to secure their terminal environment? How do they authenticate on their network?
So we basically have almost all development, like, the actual code that goes into the blockchain goes through GitHub. And we have all the like main branches locked down to where, me or Neil has to basically approve it before it can actually enter that code base. So if you go, off of master or like one of the official branches, then yeah, you're kind of on your own because that's like developer branches and they can have like development, unstable stuff, all that kind of stuff. And, but basically we have a very strict code review process where everything has to be reviewed. And also we run like, unit test and that kind of thing. And then for the actual building the binaries, we use a thing called Gideon, which is actually the same thing that Bitcoin uses. And basically what Gideon does is it's a very specialized build and compiler environment that basically builds all the dependencies, all the programs that go into Qtum and everything. And it will basically build it to where it's deterministic. So if you were to set up, like there's a actual tutorial on the GitHub that's pretty easy. It's kind of finicky to set up sometimes, but basically if you were to set it up and you built it, you can check, like, you can hash the program or whatever to check what the content is and then compare it to my program and it will be exactly the same. And we can actually we don't have the signature setup built around that yet. But in the future, we will, to where basically we'll have a set of developers and some community members outside of Qtum basically to build it, confirm that we're not, inserting extra code or something like that. And it'll all be signed. And you can, when you download it, if you're extra paranoid, you can check all the signatures, see, okay, this guy that I trust built it and this other guy that I trust built it. So, okay, it's probably okay.
Okay. So when posting so when you're posting these codes, right, and the accessible applications and programs on GitHub, how are their repository secured and reviewed? What types of access to the network do their employees have? I mean, this is, I think, a question that is from a programmer. So maybe you could share a little bit about how do you secure and have them reviewed on your repository?
Yeah, so I mean, we basically use a feature of GitHub called protected branches, which basically means you can't actually put code onto these main official branches without without going through the pull request process. So that's why if you look at our repository, we have a lot of pull requests,
Hmm.
and I think there's only been like one or two commits that were made outside of that pull request
Hmm.
model because basically developers have to use a pull request and describe their changes, and then me or Neil and also other team members that are familiar with that code also sign off on it. And basically we look at the code, see what it changes, determine if it's okay, run our own personal tests and everything like that. And then after it finally seems to be good and everything, then we say, okay, merge it into the actual code base and make it official.
Okay. So, okay, since we're on a community at the moment, and of course, John is of course into the community. I think the community also plays a large part. So maybe John, you could share a little bit about what has being of course the marketing director of Qtum. Maybe you can share a little bit about about Qtum strategies on getting the community involved. And I hope that the community doesn't mean all the hackers and the people who know how to program, but as in I want to understand whether or not there's anything for people like me, to get excited about Qtum, and what are the steps that you guys are taking to do that. And, how have you all been engaging the community through your Twitter, your Slack, or your Telegram and WeChat and whatnot? Please feel free to share.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been trying to be in as many channels as possible, Slack, but we're gonna switch to Discord soon because there's been a lot of phishing attempts from people who aren't affiliated with us, and they pretend to be us, and they'll send like direct messages to people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's quantum airdrop.
The quantum airdrop. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Don't fall for that.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, we've been pretty active, weekly updates as far as like community and development, like what we're doing. We always let people know. Yeah, Twitter, we try to post at least once a day. Yeah, we're on Facebook. Like every channel you could think of, we try to keep it active. Yeah, and at first, we really want to grow our developer community, so that's why we're doing these hackathons and getting out there and going to these conferences to engage not only our current community, but also try to make it larger. So if anyone is in SF, we'll have a meetup on the 5th. And what we're also trying to do is, okay, yeah, Qtum, yeah, it's the platform. So what we're really trying to do is foster a lot of these dApps and businesses that are building blockchain applications to build on Qtum. So that way, you don't just have Qtum, but you have like applications where you could use it, and you could have things that maybe like more fun for you to use, like some of these dApps, and that could have an impact on your life. So we've been focusing a lot of our resources on that, and just because we know that each app that builds on top of Qtum also has its own network, and that just helps the community grow a lot bigger and a lot faster than just us trying to do like these small little steps. So we try to get like these big things, but we also want to have the grassroots efforts for Qtum itself. Greg, yeah, could also go touch on his side of things because he's always down in the trenches, making sure everyone in the community is engaged and knows what's going on.
Right. So, I mean, with community, we're speaking directly to a Western community, and as you know, I mean, we're on a YouTube stream right now. But you have to understand that the Western side of things, like we realize that it's not one of our strengths right now, and we're working on it to improve the amounts of people that are interested in the Qtum project. But I mean, like a huge shout out to the Korean community. I mean, if you look at the chat right now, I mean, it's a lot of Koreans on Telegram. We did a meetup in Korea. We visited there a few times, and the Chinese community is quite strong. I mean, a few months ago, when you would take a look at our social media trends and whatnot, we would trend higher than most other projects in China. I don't know what it is today. I haven't looked in a few months, but I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people in the Chinese WeChat channels. And Ryan, I'd mentioned to you earlier that you speak Chinese, you can check it out and verify for yourself. But we actually have quite a large community. I can't say for how many like active day-to-day users that there are, but if you add up all of the WeChat channels and the Kakao Talk on Korea and so on, you're looking at over 20,000 or around 20,000. So we do really well, and we're just trying to duplicate that success in the West right now, and that's why you'll see us coming onto live streams like this. And this is a rare occurrence for us to come onto a live stream. I mean, we did a little bit of this during our crowd, so we did some discussions, mostly Patrick. But now what you're seeing is us engaging directly, and we tried to be on Telegram every day, but the other thing too is that the in-life meetups and the real events and the trade shows and the conferences, this is the time where people can come and meet us, and they can come sit down, talk about the technology. And I mean, one of the things that you may not know is you see me a lot every day, just talking in the social media channels. But John behind me, he's in interview after interview after interview, and he's setting them up for Patrick, and he's setting them up for everyone. And I mean, we come to a trade show like this, and we're in a dressing room right now doing interviews and doing live streams. It's to the point where we're very active. So go easy on us when you say there's a lack of communication, a lack of progress. We are heavily focused on the West, and it's going to be there's going to be a big community soon. So I mean, we've got some bounties coming up. What we're trying not to do is we're not trying to have a lot of like low level bounties. Like where we lack functionality right now and where we need help from the community the most is at this point in the project, the developer channels, like the framework, the toolkits, this type of stuff. So we're going to be offering some bounties on that. We need block explorers. We need to have online services, stuff that we can't just build ourselves and then deploy like 50 of. So we're going to announce that as we start to announce some of the next steps in the project. Like, you have to understand, we just launched our main network on the 13th. We never thought that there was going to be like over a dozen projects building on Qtum before we launched our main network. You're never going to see that with another project. It's just it's never been seen before. So we have to step up our game. Like we are getting contacted by them saying, okay, we have some questions. This is where some of the developer resources are going. And you don't see this in the community because we don't talk about it. We can't just talk about some of the internal stuff that comes out. You'll see it in press releases, you'll see it in announcements. And that's when you'll see me come out and say, hey, check this out. A lot of the times that like the Korean community especially is saying, hey, come on, release some embargo stuff or release something good. The reality is that we work with multiple PR firms, and we can't just come into a channel and say, okay, we're working with decentralized applications that are going to move to our platform from other blockchains. Like, we can't say all kinds of stuff like that because the press wants first shot at it. They want to break an exclusive. So that's why we can't give you what you want every day. But you understand that when you guys are sharing your concerns with us, when you're saying, listen, I don't think that you're handling this part of your project very well. There are 2 reports a week that go out to my general manager that most of your concerns with merit, they do get glossed over. Like, for example, last night, I sent to her some things that I'd noticed in the community. People were saying, hey, what's going on with the lack of the nano ledger support, and where are your angel backers? Like why are we not hearing from them? Why are we not seeing them? I mean, we know about this stuff. So by all means, if you have criticism or if you have concerns, like, say it. Don't you don't have to repeat yourself 100 times. Like I am watching, and we do have quite a lot of moderators. So voice your concerns, bring them up to me. These people that you don't hear from very often, like the co-founders and whatnot, they hear about all of this stuff. So we will address things like the nano ledger, and we've been hearing the concerns where people are saying we don't like the idea of depositing to an exchange for a swap and whatnot. And with the swap coming up, obviously this is top of our agenda, and we're talking about it internally every day. So so these are the kind of things that like community management has involved. And then as we grow, we never expected like 1,800 people in a Telegram channel in less than 24 hours. I mean, it was just, it came as a shock to me. I was in Shanghai when we did it, and I remember looking at John saying, okay, now what? We have to moderate this. We need a lot of people. And if anybody remembers, like the first day, it was a damn jungle. I mean, we were happy that we built that channel, but we didn't know exactly how we were going to watch it 24 hours. So the community's been very good. We have an amazing community. We're now starting to see like the Russian side of things grow. We're focusing on Latin America. We have 2 people working to improve the community in Latin America. And what I mean is getting the message out. Quite a lot of growth in Spain. So we'll be setting up events.
I noticed that you all set up a Spanish like a Twitter is like a Twitter page, right? And so what's with that? Like how come you all are hitting as in just because of the language, or are you all hitting Spain itself? I mean, just out of curiosity.
Latin America is the next the next frontier, I think, in crypto when it comes to like communities and whatnot. They have, I mean, just an unbelievably large population in South America, Spain, and whatnot around the world of Spanish-speaking people. These people are very interested in blockchain and cryptocurrency, and I mean, if you take a look at like Rootstock being an incredible project, and how well they've done in Latin America, that's where we see some definite growth. So we are investing in our communications to Latin America. We will be going to some trade shows there later this year, early next year. We are translating our community updates in basically anything that we wanted to release. We have someone who is doing full-time Spanish translations. You can see that on our Twitter. You can see that on our blog. We're trying to grow that channel as well as other ones. So, Qtum is a global project. A lot of people mix us up as being a Chinese project. And I mean, one of our co-founders is Chinese. We have an office in Shanghai. That's as far as it goes, us being a Chinese project. We're a Singapore entity. I mean, look at the 3 guys in front of you right now. It's 2 guys from the States, 1 from Canada. So, like I said before, Latin America is one of our focus. Russia is another big one, and then once we've created a model that works, and we know how to build these communities, I call it community planting. We'll focus on India, we'll focus on the Middle East, and go from there. So we have goals, we have benchmarks on how many active people that we have in the community. We've done well in China. We're working on the West right now. The big focus is, Canada, Europe, and so on. So we'll have a lot of events and a lot of bounties and a lot of ways to interact with us moving forward. So you're going to see just energy out of this world here coming up very soon and into 2018.
Okay, so now I think one of the key questions that I saw from the chat was, how do you guys compare against other smart contract platforms? So say Qtum versus Ethereum, right? Or Qtum versus Neo, just basically based on being competitive within the space of smart contract platforms. Like, what's if you could sum it up in a very quick 1-minute pitch or 2-minute pitch, if you can, what's Qtum got that Ethereum doesn't have, or what does Qtum have that Neo doesn't have?
So the big thing is basically that we're designed not just for now, but for the future. So in 2018, we're planning on launching a x86 VM, and what that basically means is that you'll have a very efficient and fast smart contract platform that basically you can use with all these common programming languages like C++, Rust, Go, .NET, all of this. And also, the other big advantage we have already over Ethereum is just that we have a more solid, basically mobile platform for this.
Mhm.
And we're really focused on, bringing this not just to computers and laptops and such, but also to actual like mobile phones, and making it easy for mobile developers to basically integrate with Qtum and use the Qtum smart contracts on their phone, and also IoT, of course.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we joined the Trusted IoT Alliance.
Yeah.
Because we really want to focus on, bringing blockchain technology to
the
IoT
mobile phone,
devices.
on the mobile phone as well, right? And
Mobile
that was
phone.
that was one of the key things that I kind of caught my attention, because I think smart contract platforms at the moment don't seem to be very mobile friendly, right?
Yeah.
So can you elaborate a little bit about that? Because is it very far-fetched to be doing or claiming that you can do it, or it's already kind of in the works and we should be able to start seeing something?
So yeah, right now, like most smart contracts that operate on like mobile phones, they use some sort of server base. But with Qtum, since we use the SPV protocol, you could, not have that server, and you can make it like really decentralized in terms of how these machines
Trustless.
Yeah. So you could have trustless. You could have machines to machines communicating with no intermediaries. And this is what blockchain is all about. So yeah, this is one of our large efforts. We really want to push it. And especially, after, we develop the x86 VM more, we think that like Qtum will be really killer.
x86 VM has the way it's designed, just like the core design, is much more efficient than the EVM has been. I mean, I have a blog post about, all the things I don't like about the EVM, and basically it all boils down to it's very slow, very inefficient. And I think the x86 VM will be much more IoT friendly for smart contracts, and also.
And so Jordon, just to ask, what makes you think that Ethereum couldn't make okay, so what makes you think that Vitalik couldn't make the EVM mobile compatible or mobile friendly?
So the big thing is basically that the EVM's core design is not quite flawed, but it's very inefficient. So the big thing is this thing called 256-bit integers. And so the whole VM is basically designed around this really large number system. And that translates to being very inefficient on modern computers, and even more inefficient on mobile phones and IoT devices. And I mean, without going into too much technicality, I don't think that it's really possible for the EVM to be significantly more efficient than it is today. And I think the Ethereum project also sees that as well, because currently they are not working on, making the EVM faster or anything like that. They're working on, instead on this the WASM platform, basically, the WebAssembly. And so that's kind of like, we're kind of going for x86 because we think it'll be easier. They're going for WASM because they think it has a little bit more potential, and it's kind of two sides of the same coin of basically getting away from the EVM.
Okay, so maybe we cover a little bit about I think, okay, because I saw that you guys are going to be working with Space Chain, and then there's going to be this satellite. Apparently, it's like a leak or something like that. So okay, so maybe care to share about what's the big deal? I mean, I personally want to know what's the big deal about launching a satellite up into space and whatnot. I mean, okay, so what? Yeah, I mean, so what?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's really cool to, say you have a satellite node in space with the blockchain that's actually like, staking and helping to secure the network. But beyond that, their whole project is not, just a single blockchain node in space. It's about having this network of nodes in space that are operating the blockchain, and also, if I'm understanding their project correctly, basically making it to where you can communicate with these satellites. So right now, if you've ever used satellite internet, it's slow and that's just because of how far away the satellites are, and because they have to be in a geostationary orbit, which is like really high up. So like the speed of light, like the latency from that is like 1.5 seconds round trip. And so Space Chain is basically making this mesh network of satellites that, instead of having to be really high up to get consistent, to get a consistent location with where the satellite actually hits on the ground, they instead use multiple satellites to cover the globe. And then, so you can basically connect to a satellite, and maybe it doesn't have a direct connection to the base station or whatever, but it can connect to another satellite that does. And so it's a really interesting mesh network design they have. And basically the end result is like, I think it's like 50 milliseconds of latency instead of 1.5 seconds. And so, it's much more reasonable for a lot of different internet applications. And basically they're wanting to do all that through the blockchain, where, you're not going through some centralized entity or something.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically this infrastructure is being created so that it can be kind of decentralized. But then again, don't mind me asking, being that you all are working with companies that are sending the satellites up to space, doesn't someone actually own those satellites? And isn't it still centralized after a while? It's just that it's corporately centralized, or maybe a group of companies or funders decided to work on this. And isn't that centralized in a sense? I mean, just how I think.
Yeah. So if you look at like Jeff Garzik, who originally proposed the CubeSats for Bitcoin in space, you need multiple ground stations in multiple countries. You need to have, multiple satellites launched from multiple countries, from multiple corporations. So that's how you get all this, decentralization. Okay, you can't always trust, one country that has the ground station to be reliable. I mean, we all know this. This is crypto, and we get to see like how much one country can affect the whole blockchain landscape. So of course, you don't want to have just like, one company sending the satellites. You don't want to have one country sending the satellites. You need to have a network.
A network of countries sending the satellites. So it's basically I mean, I did a little bit of reading up on this satellite network infrastructure thing. I guess I kind of get it. So you're trying to say that right now, is it costly to send a satellite up into space? To me, I feel it's costly. So the groundwork is being laid out at the moment, and that's what I find very kind of unique, because maybe because I'm very new to this space personally, as in this is one of the first times I'm hearing that a cryptocurrency is working towards sending satellites up into space and creating its own network. Now, why do we have to do that? Is okay, firstly, decentralization, but then again, as more satellites go up into space, it's what I'm hearing is that it becomes faster in terms of the transaction. It becomes faster. Is that also correct? Does it become?
I mean, there's like a lot of so like, yes, Space Chain it's built on quantum, but it's not quantum. But we're helping send.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's two different projects. I mean, Space Chain is its own project, right?
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of like space services that you could do. You could have Lightning networks that are run on the satellites, so you could get like a more decentralized Lightning network. So yeah, in terms of this, of course the transactions are faster because you're not going to wait for the whole block. So yeah, that's one thing. What was the second question?
Okay, so the second question is, okay, so basically, how many satellites does one need in order for this network to start really showing itself? I mean, or at least proving that it works.
So I think you want at least like 20 to 24 satellites.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and you could, and it's not like you're getting like one huge satellite, because
of course,
yeah, like we said, you could run the quantum node on a Raspberry Pi. So what people do is like they'll have this big satellite, but they're not utilizing it. So they'll sell the space. So you know, a CubeSat, it's pretty small. You could just upload it as part of a bigger satellite, and that way it's more cost effective. So you're not paying like, you know, this three to $5 million cost to launch a satellite. You're just buying a small piece of it, and that way it's a lot cheaper, and you could send up more. But ideally, you want like 20 to 24 to have like always be connected with the network. Since they're low orbit, I think it's about like 500 kilometers up. You need to have like connections, because if you're sending something to space, since it's low orbit, you know, you're gonna have the Earth blocking you because it's only 500 kilometers above us.
Okay, so after this satellite infrastructure and network is established, right? So help us understand, how is it going to monetize, or how does it help people on this? How does it help the projects with using this infrastructure or this satellite infrastructure? How does it generate revenue?
Yeah, so I don't want to go too much into the Space Chain's business model.
Oh, it's Space Chain's business model, right? Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay, sure.
But yeah, they
just roughly, because I think we can discuss about the satellite infrastructure, right? Because that's pretty general. So maybe.
I know that there's a few other blockchain projects and dApps that, you know, they want to have some of these benefits from space to enhance their own networks. I don't want to give those names, but yeah, there's other projects. It's not just us thinking about space. You know, you would want some storage in space, and yeah, that would just be like one business model that, yeah, having like help decentralized space storage would bring some benefits to, you know, those types of networks.
Right.
Okay.
It's a good tool to have in your pocket, especially with like future partnerships and whatnot. I mean, to be taken seriously in the crypto blockchain space, you need to, you know, you need to have some tools at your disposal. Like, I mean, we just signed a partnership with like the Trusted IoT Alliance, where we're now in an alliance with Cisco and Bosch and places like this, and you need to bring something to the table in order for there to be a reason to partner with you. And having access to a space satellite network is, I mean, this is why we are going to go ahead and explore this and do the first test launch, so that we can see if it's viable, see if it's something that we want to have a lot of future continued partnerships with. And I think that moving forward, you can unlock great opportunities. I mean, I saw some community concerns, people saying that this is being done as a game to avoid regulations. I mean, this is not something that you start planning last week or in August because you know that there's regulations might be coming or something. I mean, this is, you have to understand that like the quantum project's being started in like March 2016. This is something we were talking about 11 months ago, and it's not like it's not a stunt. It is a very useful tool, and I mean, if you have the knowledge and know-how, I know that Patrick used to do satellite calculations in his mathematics studies and whatnot, and so when you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together and see like Patrick's history and his scientific background and whatnot, you start to say, oh, okay, I can see now why they're interested in it, and I can see how they know about it, and I can see how they know the people that are working in this field, and so that's kind of how this came about. So I think that moving forward, you're going to see some big things. But again, you speak to the costs, and I mean, I'm not looking at the invoices, obviously, so I can't tell you, I can't show you, what the cost is, but I can assure you, we raised a good amount of money, but we're not crazy. We're not going to, spend more than we think it's worth. So we'll take it from there. We'll see. We'll follow how Space Chain is doing. I mean, they're one of many decentralized applications building on quantum. there's quite a few more that are going to be announced, and also every time that we have a new decentralized application that wants to actually work with us and partner with us, I mean, it just brings more and more and more to the table that we can offer. And as the decentralized apps, they partner with each other and whatnot, it just becomes an unstoppable snowball of just, potential. So keep your eyes out, on the Quantum project over the next month or two. You're going to see a lot more of this type of, high level stuff. You're not going to see this in, too many other projects. So we are working to release some of this information, but we are not the ones that can announce it. The Koreans use this term. They always call it, they always say, tell us some embargo. And I think that's what that means, is give us the good stuff.
So is there any good stuff that you can highlight as of
there's always
no good stuff? Oh man,
there's always good stuff, but
end of stream, guys.
There's not going to be any more satellite blurred outs. But what I'm saying is that, it's up to them to announce it. Like what we don't do is we don't exchange a couple emails and then jump on social media channels and do it like that. Again, we always want it to be embargoed. We always want it to go through the press. And so it may seem like we're elusive at times, but you have to be. You can't just take it personally when people are getting mad at you saying you haven't given us anything in a week or two. But we hear you. This is the Quantum project is 4+ years that we have planned. We have 4 or more years, and in hindsight, this is, when you're looking back at this video in 2 years and you see the stuff that we're talking about now, and then you see the stuff that we will accomplish very shortly, you will very clearly see why we are not acting quickly. We have long-term plans. This is a long-term project. This is not an overnight thing. So do keep your eye on it. You will hear about it. I'm not saying that you have to follow our channels. You will hear about the Quantum project, over the next few months, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. We have a very solid 2018 plan. So anyways,
Nice.
I'll turn it back to you for the next question here.
Yeah. So basically, maybe in Q4, right? In Q4, because of course, we are already going to have the GUI for smart contract interaction in the wallet, and of course, we're going to have the GUI. We're going to have a stable RPC layer for developers, the decentralized governance protocol. We have smart stake. That's going to all be happening. All that good stuff end of the month. Then after that, so I noticed there's going to be the Quantum integration and API releases. So I noticed there's this release on Cloa. It's a WeChat wallet for mobile use. I mean, why is there a need for a WeChat wallet for? Or at least the version of it. Like, why are you all working with WeChat?
Yeah. So Qloha, yeah, WeChat, they made this, they made it more of a platform. So they have the WeChat mini apps. Mm-hmm. So we wanted, everyone in China and a lot of people in Southeast Asia, they use WeChat. I think they have like almost 1 billion users. So if we could tap into that network and just make it easier for those people who are using, WeChat day to day. I live in Shanghai and I use WeChat more than Facebook and Facebook Messenger and all my other messengers combined. It's a real tool for life. You use WeChat everywhere. You can pay your taxi through WeChat Pay. You could buy anything. Even the street vendors use WeChat Pay. So it's really incredible, like how ingrained WeChat is in Chinese life. So yeah, we think it's important to, why not try out this platform, see how well, Quantum could be on there. So yeah, we want to try it out, and
and our focus on that is more for smart contracts rather than doing payments.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, it's also just a lot easier, and it's mobile. So
yeah.
Okay. So what's with this Spring Mail?
So
what's with Spring Mail?
So Spring Email is basically, if you like your email provider is like set up, they could use you could just send Qtum to email addresses. So that's a little tougher to get done. I mean, in terms of getting email integrations, because that kind of relies on your email service provider. But yeah, it's just one way to make Qtum more usable. Yeah, so that's it. It just makes Qtum more usable and easy.
So I already saw a demo. That was when you guys were having Twitter, only 9,000 Twitter followers. And you all had this demo of sending Qtum over a message, like SMS. That was pretty powerful. I was like thinking, wow, okay, so it's just a message, and then after that it goes across. I was a bit blown away. Is that even available, or like how is where yeah?
That's still being worked on, and
Okay.
it wasn't just like SMS, because SMS is a very basic protocol, but that was over iMessage.
Sorry, iMessage, yes. Okay.
Yeah, but that's like I like iMessage. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's still being worked on. I think that's gonna come out sometime soon.
Okay, so that's this year, as in that's
we've
this
been
year.
busy with the mainnet, so kind of a lot of priorities shifted in order to deploy that, when we said we are going to, because that was our main priority, was getting that shipped, and our main priority was getting the coin swapped, and then we're going to start really focusing on these other projects.
Right, and that's so like Jordan says there, you don't hear us talking too much about Lightning networks, atomic swaps, mobile applications, this type
being
of
worked
stuff.
on, though.
It's being worked on. But the thing is that the swap, and you have to understand, I just wanted to say one thing while I've got everyone's attention, is that the swap is coming up, and as you saw in our community updates that just went out, we're moving from Slack to Discord for a reason, and that's because Slack is no longer a viable community channel. Other projects are fleeing en masse. Slack just does not care that there is a problem for us with their platform. I guess we are using it in a way that it was not intended to be used, and so with the swap coming up, where I'm going with this is that we expect there to be imposters, we expect there to be impersonators, we expect there to be Qtum airdrops, this type of stuff pop up. So remember, the only way that the swap is happening, and I repeat, the only way is through the official ways, through the community updates and the official announcements that we make. If someone approaches you, or if there's a website that looks like ours and whatnot, always refer back to the instructions in the official swap, because we do not have a fund set aside to reimburse people that lose tokens.
And also, if you're unclear on if anything is like official, or like you receive an email and it looks official, but you don't know, because spoofing email is very easy, and always ask in our community like if it's legit or something, and we'll confirm it or say it's a scam, basically.
Be extra skeptical.
Be diligent.
Just be super skeptical. So again, a lot of people are asking us, when are the updates? When is the good stuff about the developments and whatnot? You just please remember that the swap is first and foremost, on our attention right now, and then you will start to see the Kaloa, the WeChat. We will discuss that. We will discuss the Lightning networks. We will discuss all of the things that are coming up, especially the x86 virtual machine and whatnot. And I believe there's going to be, like, Jordan can correct me if I'm wrong here, but a third test net sometime. Who knows when? Who knows? But
yeah, we'll have a test net for the x86 VM in 2018. I'm thinking early, but no promises right now.
Right.
Sure.
So for anyone looking at our project from the outside, go talk to your developer friend, look at our GitHub, and you will clearly see that there's substance here. There's you Google for Qtum and whatnot. There's people trying to figure out how to clone it already. You can see them on Stack Exchange and whatnot. There's a reason that developers are picking the Qtum blockchain to build their decentralized applications. It's not because we're very charismatic. It has a lot to do with the fact that there is developer substance. This UTXO thing, it is a big deal. The Ethereum Virtual Machine is very widely used. There is a lot of familiarity with Bitcoin Core, and there's proven stability behind it. Just for example, take the multi-sig. the pay to script hash Bitcoin improvement proposal. We've had multi-sig wallets native to Bitcoin for forever. And we don't need a smart contract to do it. And these are the kinds of things that people want to build like into the decentralized applications. They want access to like proven security, proven stability. So it's like Patrick said a while ago back, he said that, expect to see quite a lot of decentralized applications in the future. I mean, this is where we spend a lot of our time, is talking to people behind the scenes. I mean, in the Shanghai office, when I'm in Shanghai, which is quite a lot lately, there's a project in every week coming and talking to us that's thinking about using the quantum blockchain. And so it's development before anything, and development before marketing. And like we said earlier in this stream, we are behind Ethereum in having the toolkits, the frameworks and whatnot. It's easier to develop on Ethereum, but if you're looking for functionality, if you're looking for specific functionality, you will come to Quantum. And so it's a matter of us going out, getting that foundation set up so that the masses can come.
And also Ethereum has a few years lead on us.
Yeah.
So, they're much more mature. And if you look back, at what people were doing with Ethereum 2 years ago, it was very difficult to use, very similar to us. You had to understand all the low level details. And so that's definitely got to be what we are working on,
right,
to really spark that developer community to where they see our project and think, no, that's the easy choice.
Right. And so the thing is there's enough room in this space for us to exist with Ethereum. I mean, some might say, who is your competition? Well, the competition is not another crypto project. The competition is, the mainstream business models we're trying to disrupt. This is the ultimate goal. There's room to coexist with Ethereum. We're not in direct competition with anything with them other than getting attention and being taken seriously. We're not trying to, outperform them or anything, but I believe that we're ahead of them in development a little bit, but a lot of people would disagree with me on that one. But these other projects, what you want to be looking for in a project right now is, are they getting developers? Are they getting decentralized applications? Do they have actual use cases? Do they have a stable blockchain? Are they laying the framework and foundation for developers to program on their blockchain, or are they marketing? And so these are the kinds of things that you want to see. And so the marketing, once we have it becomes a lot easier to market a project once you have all of this. What is going to happen when we launch, like an enterprise solution? A lot of the marketing that's going on right now in the crypto sphere is people taking a centralized or a decentralized centralized platform, and what they're doing is they're marketing all of the features of having basically a permission blockchain. And that's very easy to do. That's really easy to do. And it's very impressive for people who have not looked into the difference between a decentralized and a centralized blockchain. And when they do, they realize very quickly why people are looking at Ethereum and why they're looking at Quantum. And then they realize really quickly, look at all the room that we have to grow. The the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance and the Ethereum Enterprise, it's fantastic work, but they still use a public decentralized chain. And that's the Ether tokens that everyone is holding. What's going to happen when Quantum, when we focus on those efforts? Judge us on our code, judge us on the effort that we put in, judge us on our strategy, and don't judge us on our AdWords is the message that I'm trying to get across. And then the deeper that you dive into that, you start to put two and two together, and you're seeing why we're preparing for a year from now, it's 2 years from now, and we're not comparing ourselves really to other projects. Our goals, we're not engaging in rivalries or discussions or debates. We are focused on the big picture. So that's kind of the mentality here at Quantum, and that's the overall feelings of the team is that, we got funded. We have a responsibility to spend our funds to promote the adoption of the Quantum blockchain. The Quantum token is the fuel that fuels the Quantum blockchain. This is what we are trying to do is get it widely adopted, massively adopted. We are trying to disrupt anything that you can put on the blockchain that makes sense to do. So as we work towards that goal, you know, it does seem like a pretty nerdy project. We are, you know, pretty nerdy guys, but you know, we're not the most charismatic. But I mean, you can solve these problems with money. There are problems in that you can just throw money at. And I mean, it's very easy to hire charismatic people. It's not easy to hire people that know their blockchain. And so again, when you start to see the difference between, you know, your community manager as a systems administrator versus, you know, et cetera. John, you know, used to write in the blockchain space years ago. You can Google his name and look back at the articles that he did. Jordan's been in the blockchain space for years. This is what you want to look for in a project. So I know I'm shilling a little hard here, so I'll tone it down. But these are the things that I wanted to point out. You know, when people are asking us, you know, what about Kaloha? What about WeChat? We've never missed anything on our roadmap. That's not to say that we won't in the future, you know, but anything major, we've always released it early. I'm not sure about other projects, whether in fact, you know, that's the case. We like to manage expectations, and we like to make sure that we can accomplish what we set out to say. Of course, there might be one or two things that we miss or we just can't do because no one can do. But I mean, looking forward, we're going to have to revamp the roadmap. We updated it a little while ago. We are actively revamping the white paper and adding sections for like the DGP and the other stuff, because the white paper was written by Jordan and our chief scientist in January, February. I had a small role to play in it, and go from there. So 2018 is going to be an amazing year. We know it's going to be it's going to be big for Quantum. So again, judge us on our code, our achievements, and we will work to bring you know, more exposure to the project in the West. But let us focus on the swap now. Remember, we just launched September 13th. That's less than a month ago. So we are the new guys on the block, and we get it. So we don't have something to prove yet, but we will definitely try to set the bar really high.
All right, guys. So without further ado, anything in closing from Jordan or John?
I think
no,
Brett.
I think Brett summed it up.
Brett probably did a very good job, already, right?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for attending this stream at Crypto Grinders. I think it is really an honor to have you guys to explain the whole quantum blockchain and also the potentials that we are going to see this year and next year. I think it's really a very, very powerful project, and looking forward to see more of you guys in the space and more activities and more developments. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone for watching.
All right.
Most welcome. Take care, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.